Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
My king, there's one more thing. Not long ago, we received a signal from outer space. When we came here, we completely deciphered the message. It seems like the beast god civilization is not our only enemy. End quote. Caesar's eyes were deep when he said this. This was also the main reason he had come to find Yibei today. But, to Caesar's surprise, Yibei didn't react at all when he heard this. The universe is very big. Although the beast god civilization's technology is very powerful, it's still a very low-level existence in the entire universe. Of course, they're not our only enemy. If you want to live, you must improve both technology and your own strength. Yibei said calmly. King, don't you want to know what that message is? Caesar thought for a while and asked. If you want to say it, just say it. Yibei's voice was cold. Yes. End quote. Yes. End quote. Caesar nodded quickly. End quote. The beast god civilization is in the universe, fighting with another civilization. However, due to the lack of energy, they have been searching for new energy on the major planets. This is also the main reason why the Lamia and the others returned to Earth. Furthermore, according to the information fragments, the beast god civilization can't defeat that civilization at all. What is that civilization? Where is he? Yibei's interest was slightly piqued. Stronger than the beast god civilization and forcing them to plunder resources everywhere. What kind of civilization was this? End quote. King, you'll be very surprised if I tell you. Back then, the famous Chinese science fiction novelist, Liu Cixin, had a novel called The Three Bodies. It involved planet Alpha Centauri, and that civilization was born in the Centauri. Moreover, their civilization's name is the Three Bodies Civilization. The technology they possess, after our judgment, is similar to the technology described in the novel Three Body! And NBSB, whoosh. Caesar took a few deep breaths as he said this. The more he knew, the more confused he felt about this world. Earth might have long been exposed to the eyes of countless civilizations, and even the Three Body civilization might have already begun to set up a trap on Earth. Three Body. At first, Yibei was only slightly interested, but when he heard this, his eyes slowly widened. Things were developing in an increasingly interesting direction. End quote. Liu Cixin, Japanese anime, and even some sci-fi movies. When human civilization was developing, countless knowledge had been quietly implanted. Caesar, if it were you, would you implant so much information and technological blockade on an unremarkable planet? Initially, Caesar was only shocked by the matter of the three-body civilization. At the same time, he was thinking about how to deal with the powerful civilizations in the future. However, when he heard Yibei's question, Caesar's body trembled violently. Then, a large amount of cold sweat broke out on his ferocious face. That's right. Why did those civilizations do such things to Earth? From the current situation, the existence of Earth had long been completely exposed. In the Dark Forest Law, Earth was like an extremely beautiful and naked lowly girl surrounded by a group of lecherous uncles who had never touched a woman for countless years. In the end, this group of uncles surrounded this girl and played fight the landlord, not doing anything else. Was that even possible? Thinking of this, Caesar's expression became more and more fearful. King, it seems that we know too little about the past human civilization and the methods of other civilizations in the universe. When I return, I will continue to search for more information. Caesar said in a low voice. The snake civilization's technology is indeed developing very quickly. However, Caesar, you have to remember that it's not necessarily a good thing for technology to develop too quickly. There are many civilizations waiting to make things difficult for us. No matter what, we have to leave a backup plan. Yibei instructed. In the universe, the battle between the major races and civilizations involved tens of billions of lives. Their schemes, their intelligence, their methods. They were definitely not weaker than the games between the major countries during the human civilization era. After Caesar left, Yibei asked the system in his mind, system, from the current situation. There are about 4 civilizations that know the exact location of Earth. The Space Snake, the Blackwater Behemoth, the Three-Body Civilization, the Beast God Civilization, and the Mayan civilization that was very famous during the human civilization. In these civilizations, what is the average strength of our snake race? End quote. The Tri-Body civilization is a level 10 civilization and the strongest of all. As for the snake civilization, they are only a level 5 civilization. Be it technology or civilization level, they are not as good as the beast god civilization. However, in terms of development speed, the snake civilization is definitely one of the top in the entire universe. End quote. The system gave a very direct answer. However, this answer was clearly avoiding the light and beating around the bush. However, just as eBay was about to continue asking the system, whoosh, in the sky, a silver-white shadow streaked across the sky. The blood moon quickly flew over. King, she stopped next to eBay, and her voice sounded very anxious. End quote. We just received information that many strange things have appeared in the sea. Many fish that have not used the evolution potion seem to have gained intelligence and mutated. Their numbers are very large, and their reproduction rate is extremely fast. After the snake tribe civilization was established, the Blood Moon led a large number of mutated birds to take on the responsibility of patrolling the safety of the major races on Earth. At the same time, Yibei's territory covered the entire world. It also gave the birds the ability to move freely in the water. Once there were any major changes on Earth, the Blood Moon would report it immediately. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. End quote. The sea creatures have mutated? After hearing this, Yibei immediately scanned the deep sea with his mental power domain, his forked tongue still sticking out of his mouth. End quote. End quote. If the evolution potion wasn't leaked, there's only one possibility. After such a long time, some civilizations should have started to stir. End quote. As soon as Yibei finished speaking, he used his mental power to observe the situation in the sea, and his eyes immediately widened. In his pitch-black pupils, a flame was rapidly flickering. The situation in the ocean had really taken Yibei by surprise. The change in the ocean happened in an instant, without any warning. Moreover, Yibei could clearly sense that some other substance had appeared in the ocean. The sun was high in the sky. White clouds. With the emergence of various high-tech snake civilization and the full use of pure green, pollution-free new energy, the entire Earth's environment had been restored to an extremely high-quality state. Walalala. Occasionally, a gust of sea breeze would blow. On the surface of the ocean, the azure water was constantly stirring up waves. On the surface, the ocean was calm, peaceful, and beautiful to the extreme. Any living creature could feel the beauty. However, when Yibei released his mental power domain and saw the situation in the sea, he discovered that the situation here was completely different. When our snake tribe civilization was first established, we had always prioritized the development of the creatures on land, raising their intelligence and creating a country. We had ignored the existence of the creatures on the seabed. As far as Earth was concerned, the number of fish in the ocean was actually very large, and their species far exceeded that of the beasts. Furthermore, their combat strength cannot be underestimated. While Yibei was examining the situation in the sea, Blood Moon continued to report to him. It is indeed so. Yibei nodded, because at this moment, he could see the grand situation in the ocean in the domain extremely clearly. Countless different species of fish gathered together. In the depths of the ocean, countless black spheres seemed to have appeared. When the fish gathered together, Yibei could even hear them discussing something. The sound of something being smashed could be heard. End quote. Earth should belong to us. The ocean is so big. The creatures in the ocean should be the dominant ones. End quote. Yes, but how do we kill our way out? We can also think of a way to trick the animals on land into coming in. The fish spoke in a hoarse voice. Fortunately, Yibei had prepared himself. Otherwise, he would have been stunned on the spot when he heard these sounds. But now that he had the ability to move freely in the water, Yibei was absolutely confident. Even if these fish were all intelligent, they were no match for the snake tribe civilization. My king, what should we do next? Should he directly start a war with the fish? Now, as long as we beasts enter the ocean, carnivorous fish or not, we'll all rush over and attack. The entire ocean seems to have become a forbidden area. The Blood Moon's voice was a little anxious. Who? When Yibei heard this, he took a deep breath. then withdrew his mental power domain from the sea. He looked at the blood moon. Let's find out why these fish can also gain intelligence. In addition, in my opinion, all the living things on Earth originated from Earth. No living thing is wrong. It was the same for the fish. Since the snake civilization could accommodate all kinds of creatures, why couldn't it accommodate the creatures in the ocean? We've collected quite a number of dolphins before and used them to make sound wave weapons, right? Yibei narrowed his eyes and calmly expressed his thoughts. Blood Moon, who was originally very nervous, suddenly became cheerful after hearing this. Yes, my king, I know what to do. After saying that, Blood Moon flapped its wings and turned into a silver lightning bolt, leaving. Time continued to pass by quickly. It was located in the center of Eastern Sea City. Yibei released his mental power domain. They had witnessed the rapid rise of the snake tribe civilization. Countless different races lived in harmony, learned from each other, and prospered. At the same time, he also saw the heartless, crazy, and despicable means of killing in Doomsday City. He even used his spiritual power domain. He observed the current situation of the people he was familiar with in the depths of his mind and memories one by one. He felt the rapid changes in their thinking, ways of doing things, concepts, and even logic. Yibei had a deeper understanding of human nature and the nature of beasts. And with the adjustment he had made over this period of time, his memories of humans had become more and more ethereal to him. At the same time, Yibei had a feeling that it wouldn't be long before Earth would really face a huge change. After another month, on Earth, there were thousands of countries formed by all the major races. However, with super photon computers and intelligence thousands of times higher than human civilization, the snake civilization was completely united. Almost every living creature and every human had a miniature quantum projection watch. Not only could they keep up with the latest news around the world, but they could also release the novel news they saw at any time. Walala. On the Pacific Ocean, a speedboat was moving at the speed of sound. This was the latest supersonic multifunctional vehicle developed by the snake tribe, and its functions were even more powerful. It could move in 4 ways at the same time: a submarine, a speedboat, a supercar, and a fighter jet. Therefore, those who could own this thing were definitely of extraordinary status in the entire snake civilization. Fufufufu. It's so good. Damn mutant fish, tremble under my feet. As the warship sped forward, a series of arrogant voices came from it. Flameful. It was originally a wild wolf. However, after receiving the finished product of the evolution potion that Yibei had given him, he gradually became one of the higher-ups of the entire werewolf tribe. Because during the evolution process, all of his fur had turned fiery red, and he had given himself the flame full. When the fish in the ocean gained intelligence, although Yibei adhered to the principle of peaceful coexistence, due to the differences in their biological forms and methods of survival, there had been several major battles over the past month, and the werewolves had sacrificed a lot in these battles. This was also the reason why the flame foal was so angry. A bunch of damned salted fish. They were all frozen in the water. If you have the guts, come out here. The flame foal stared at the blue sea and roared continuously. He even looked a little ferocious. However, just as he was howling, the few mutated wolves that came with him widened their eyes. One of the mutated wolves even started to tremble slightly. Lord Flame, why you look in front? Was that a storm? It's too terrifying. A mutated wolf howled. What's the fuss about? It's not the first time we've encountered a storm. In the Serpent God's domain, we can move freely in the ocean. Don't worry, we definitely won't die. The flame foal growled. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. However, when he said the last part, he raised his head inadvertently. His voice was cut off, and his eyes also changed wildly. About 10 kilometers ahead, the changes that were happening were too terrifying. At this moment, the flame foal even felt a terrifying and dangerous aura. Other than the flame foal, at this moment, the entire civilization of the snake tribe gradually went from calm to boiling. What is this? The eyes of the flaming phoenix were wide open, and they were quickly filled with blood, turning red. Within his line of sight, above the Pacific Ocean, the sky was originally clear and cloudless. However, The endless sea water above was suddenly pulled up by a strange force and rushed into the sky. Under the high temperature, it turned into layers of dark clouds, and the clouds gathered into a vortex. From the Flamefull's point of view, it looked like a huge storm had formed in front of them. The entire sky seemed to be pressed down. Lord Flame, this doesn't seem like an ordinary storm. Immediately take a picture with your quantum watch and post it on the internet to ask. Beside them, a mutated wolf stretched out one of its legs as it spoke. Surprisingly, it was wearing a watch. Quickly inform the higher-ups, inform the king, inform the serpent god. Immediately report back the situation here. The Flamefull finally reacted, its eyes filled with panic. Yes, I'll start immediately. While the mutated wolves were talking, they quickly took pictures of the scene. A series of ultra-clear pictures were uploaded to the internet at once. But before the mutated wolf could continue to act tough, the next moment his eyes widened. The internet was in an uproar. Countless creatures of different races were talking about it. Among them, the most eye-catching one was the news from the live broadcast of TZ Company. A mutated monkey. Well, if one were to use the aesthetic of a monkey, this monkey would definitely be a perfect beauty. At this moment, the monkey was holding a pitch-black microphone in his hand. He had a serious expression and was doing a live broadcast. Everyone, if you look down from space, it's not difficult for you to see that on the Pacific Ocean side, the vortex cloud mass is expanding at a crazy speed visible to the naked eye. On the surface, it looks like the clouds have absorbed a large amount of sea water and caused it to evaporate, but in reality, this is definitely a wrong judgment. End quote. I don't know if you can see it, but in these dark clouds, there is a large amount of lightning brewing almost every minute and every second. End quote. The mutant female monkey paused for a moment. In the live broadcast room, the comments section exploded. F***CK. Why does it look like an alien invasion? End quote. I feel like the sky is falling down. Could it be that someone is testing a weapon? End quote. I can feel the terrifying energy even through the screen. End quote. End quote. Don't worry. With the snake god around, no matter how big the trouble is, it will be fine in the end. End quote. The netizens from all the major races expressed their opinions one after another. However, just as their discussion reached its peak, buzz. All of a sudden, the scene on the live broadcast changed. A large amount of snowflakes appeared, and the mutated beautiful monkey's appearance changed into Caesar. In the video, Caesar's face was serious. Because his face was full of scars, he looked very ferocious. Many of the creatures that were watching the video were shocked when they saw him. However, Caesar's next words stunned all the living beings on the spot, and they were speechless for a long time. Everyone, I've just received accurate information. The beast god civilization had rebuilt a new wormhole on the Pacific Ocean. The ocean was filled with storms of positive and negative electric particles, which posed a devastating threat to any living creature. After a few months, the beast god civilization had returned, and this time, they would be even more ferocious. Therefore, I suggest that no matter what race you are, you should not go out for the time being. Recently, we have built a large number of underground shelters. For everyone's safety, you can hide in them now. Caesar's expression was extremely serious when he said this. But in the Pacific Ocean, the mutated wolf's fur stood on end when it saw this scene through its quantum watch. The fear in his voice continued to increase. Lord Flame. No, this is bad. End quote. Just now, Mr. Caesar said that it's a super wormhole tonight, and there are terrifying particle storms inside. Let's just run. Although I'm not sure how it works, we'll definitely be dead if we get sucked in. Shut up. The Flamefull growled, and its eyes were instantly filled with despair. We're already finished. I don't have a chance anymore. Damn it. I'm not willing to die like this. As he said this, the Flamefull stared straight ahead. The vehicle on his side had clearly stopped, but the storm was getting closer and closer to him. Based on what he could see, it had completely exceeded the speed of sound. At this time, Caesar's voice continued to be projected on the quantum watch. End quote. So far, the diameter of the vortex particles above the Pacific Ocean has exceeded 100 kilometers, and it is expanding at a speed of 50 kilometers per minute. Due to the collision of positive and negative electrons, as well as the terrible energy that erupts in the water source at any time, a lot of space will be torn to pieces, end quote. After Caesar said this, the entire snake tribe civilization began to move. With the development in the past few months, the existence of the alien civilization had become a fact that all living beings knew. In the midst of panic, every living being entered the underground shelter in an orderly manner. There were billions of creatures in the world, but there were no trampling or criminal incidents in the process. This was something that the human civilization had never dared to imagine. The internet fell silent for a few seconds. However, communication was extremely advanced now. Even if they entered the fallout shelter, they could still communicate online. After everyone had entered, the internet, which had just quieted down, was once again in an uproar because of Caesar's words. Are the aliens really here? F***ck. End quote. 50 kilometers per minute? Can anyone tell me what that is? End quote. It's too scary. Suddenly, I feel like I have to thank the mutant fish that suddenly appeared in the sea. Otherwise, I might go out to the sea one day to play. If I happen to encounter such a storm, I won't even have a place to cry. End quote. End quote. Your Excellency Caesar, may I ask when the snake god will move out? Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. The live broadcast room was filled with bullet comments. Caesar simply glanced at these comments and continued. I've already informed King before the live broadcast. With King's speed, if I'm not wrong, he'll reach the Pacific Whirlpool in 10 minutes at most. At the same time, a large number of weapons and battleships of our Snake Tribe civilization are also flying over simultaneously. There are dozens of satellites in space watching this live broadcast. With the mirror projection technology that the Snake Tribe has developed, everyone will be able to see the clearest picture of the scene. At this point, Caesar's eyes flashed with anticipation. And just as he finished speaking, in the live broadcast, a golden shadow suddenly flashed in TZ's live stream. At this moment, the number of online viewers had already exceeded 8 billion. Lost Race. Morpheus from Area 51. Yi Shan. Yi Kun. Wu Lian. Almost all the intelligent creatures on Earth were watching the scene. In the sky above the Pacific Ocean, the black vortex had already spread to a diameter of 300 miles. Within the dark clouds, terrifying and piercing lightning would burst out from time to time, and countless violent energies surged around it. Some of the lightning bolts were like sharp blades, while others were like round balls. If all the power of the lightning was gathered together, it would be enough for all the major countries on Earth to use for a whole month. Compared to the beast god civilization, this time, it's even more turbulent. I used to think that the wormhole was really in the Great Death Triangle, but after the snake civilization took control of the wormhole, the beast god civilization wouldn't be able to invade it for a while. Area 51. Area 51 was currently in an underground research institute in China. Morpheus was still the mayor. However, he wasn't watching the live broadcast. Instead, he was using the satellites in the 51st area to monitor the Pacific Ocean. Mayor, how strong is the beast god civilization? Neo frowned. When the beast god civilization had first appeared, he had been greatly shocked. However, the power that Yi Bei had displayed in the end had completely overturned all of his concepts. Now, Neo didn't even dare to make any casual comments. The beast god civilization is at level 6, but the quality of the beast gods is not very strong. They are only at level 3. Even so, their technology is still far more advanced than Earth's. After all, they've been developing for tens of thousands of years, while the snake civilization has only been developing for less than 3 years. However, with the existence of the snake god as an uncertain factor, I can't analyze it. Morpheus shook his head, but his eyes narrowed. End quote. Based on the current situation in the Pacific Ocean, the beast god civilization is extremely powerful. End quote. Morpheus continued. Other than Morpheus, the Lost Race also began to discuss. The clan leader? I know what you're going to say. End quote. This time, are we still on the side of the Snake Tribe civilization? I've said before that we're where we are today because of the snake god, even though we betrayed our ancestors. But, in the era of our ancestors, they also received the grace of the beast god. They are them, we are us. Living in the present is the most important thing. In the future, Don't talk about this kind of problem again. Yes, Chief. Remember, no matter what, we will always be the snake god's people. If you're his manner, you can even give up your life for him. Yes. Also, we've been silent for too long. The snake god hasn't come to find us recently. After this incident is over, regardless of whether the snake god wins or loses, we must find time to meet him. All kinds of powers were surging. However, at this moment, in the Pacific Ocean, Walala, Yi Bei's body turned into a golden shadow and moved at high speed. As for the mutated fish in the deep sea, when they sensed Yi Bei's powerful aura, they retreated one after another, not daring to approach him at all. They're finally here. I've been waiting on Earth for months. Chi, Yi Bei mumbled, sticking out his scarlet forked tongue. These words were sent through the mind power domain and madly rushed towards the huge vortex of dark clouds. However, at this moment, in the vortex, another situation was happening. Crack, crack. The carriage that the flame foal had been on had been sucked into the vortex. However, he did not die. Instead, he was sucked into a huge warship. Where is this place? The flame foal's eyes had turned black. When it woke up again, it found that it was in a foreign land. All its companions that it had brought to the sea were gone. You're the creature from Earth? Is it from the legendary snake tribe civilization? A hoarse voice was heard. The next second, a huge 3D projection appeared in front of the flame foal. It was a projection of a huge beast god. You are. When the flame foal saw the screen, its body froze and its voice was filled with fear. However, it reacted quickly. In less than a second, all of its red fur stood on end. No matter what you are, you will all pay the price for coming to Earth. The snake god will never let you off. His voice was exceptionally unyielding. Is that so? I'm sorry, but you'll die first, at least before that. That's right. The 5 companions that were with you were killed when they were swept into the space turbulence. You should be thankful that you're still alive because of the mercy of our beast god civilization. The voice in the projection was bewitching. Although the flame foal had used the finished product of the evolution potion, its creature level was not stronger than the beast god. When he heard this voice, he suddenly felt like he was in a trance. Lowly creature, now, answer my question seriously. Otherwise, you will receive the cruelest punishment. Your family, friends, will all die in pain. The voice continued. He did not care about the flame foal's condition. The question immediately followed. How many weapons does the snake civilization have now? Are you sure that the information we got from the battle with the Lamia and the others was true? But, just as the 3D beast deity finished speaking, the voice that Yi Bei had just transmitted through his mental power domain pierced through the spatial turbulence, through the vortex cloud with a diameter of more than 300 kilometers, and into the battleship of the beast god civilization's army. In the hull of one of the battleships. Who is it? The 6 beast gods who had previously communicated with Yi Bei in the Great Death Triangle were all here. Beast god number 2 frowned and growled with killing intent. At first, I was prepared to use you for research. After all, creatures that once belonged to Earth must be valuable. However, the worst mistake you made was to kill my subordinates the moment you appeared. So, from now on, don't even think about leaving. Since you've returned, then stay here forever. Ice cold. His aura surged. Yi Bei's voice rang out again. The 6 beast gods on the battleship all widened their eyes. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. Is it that guy? End quote. That's right. It must be the monster that destroyed our wormhole, end quote. Bastard. You're here so quickly. But it's good that he's here. I'll make him pay for his actions. The beast gods immediately said as they widened their eyes. On the Pacific Ocean. Walalala. The sea water formed a tornado and rushed up to the sky. The entire sky was covered in haze, and lightning kept flashing. The diameter of the dark vortex was more than 500 kilometers. When the satellites in space captured the situation here, all the creatures of the major races were shocked and exclaimed in alarm. It's much scarier than the things in science fiction movies. End quote. Unbelievable. What kind of weapon can make something like this? It's the real end of the world. How terrifying. Will the snake god really win? At this moment, the creatures who were originally very confident began to hesitate. The vortex was too terrifying, and every bolt of lightning carried the aura of death. Although in their minds, the snake god was invincible, the scene in front of them was slowly refreshing their knowledge. While these creatures were in fear, whoosh, 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 walalala, boom, boom, boom. All the battleships, spaceships, and aircraft carriers of the Snake Tribe civilization were heading toward the Pacific Ocean at their fastest speed. On one of the aircraft carriers, Lion King, we knew a long time ago that the Beast God civilization would make a comeback. But the feedback from the Pacific is too terrifying. Can we really win? And NBSB, a mutated lion raised its head and looked at Golden Lion. Its voice was filled with hesitation. The Golden Lion was covered in silver fur. He stood on the deck of the aircraft carrier. The strong wind that blew against his face made his fur rustle. His entire body was constantly releasing the aura of a king. Don't worry, the king will definitely not lose. Then, what are we going to do this time? End quote. It's been a long time since the races ate meat. We're going to eat meat from the Beast God civilization. End quote. At this point, the killing intent in Golden Lion's eyes was so strong that it was almost tangible. When the mutated lion who had asked the question felt this killing intent, it didn't dare to continue talking. It immediately lowered its head and left. On another aircraft carrier, ZZZ. Inside the aircraft carrier, there were a large number of pythons. They kept sticking out their tongues, and the sizzling sound was mixed together. Your Excellency Wong One, we're too slow right now. I reckon that by the time we reach our destination, the king will have already started fighting with those things. Why don't we go into the ocean now? After all, we'll be faster in the ocean. One of the mutated reticulated pythons suggested. What do you know? The last time the Beast God civilization's battleship came, the king was evolving. That was why he was the last to appear. Recently, the king had been waiting for the arrival of that civilization in Eastern Sea City. This time, the king is the first to rush over. If we all go over to help, wouldn't that be unnecessary? Remember, we're going there to clean up the mess of the Beast God civilization. Wong Wen scolded without holding back. Yes, Sir Wong Wen. The mutated reticulated python immediately retreated. Other than Golden Lion, Wong Wen sighed. This time, the Snake Tribe civilization had sent out more than 100,000 aircraft. Furthermore, there was a leader on each spaceship. Their trust in Yi Bei far exceeded that of the creatures hiding in the sanctuary. They had never thought that Yi Bei would fail. But, just as the army of the Snake Tribe civilization was advancing rapidly, the satellite had captured some very important photos. Those photos caused an unprecedented discussion on the internet. Look, everyone look. Damn, it's too spectacular. Something seems to be coming out of those vortex dark clouds. So huge. Are those the army of the Beast God civilization? He came through the wormhole. The metal is full of texture. End quote. There are so many. At least 100 of them. End quote. End quote. Unbelievable. The lightning in the dark vortex was so powerful, but it didn't work on the Beast God civilization's warship. How strong are they? Creatures of countless races were discussing it on the internet. Above the Pacific Ocean, Yi Bei released his mental power domain. When his mind power went through the dark clouds and lightning, he could see the battleships of the Beast God civilization more clearly. This time, the Beast God civilization had sent out 100 super battleships. The smallest one had a diameter of 20,000 meters. The largest one had a diameter of over 1,000,000 meters. This was the reason why the wormhole was so huge. Furthermore, any one of these battleships was more than 10 times stronger than the Snake Lion's battleship. Any one of these battleships had the power to level the Earth. As expected of a level 6 civilization, just the number of warships alone would consume a lot of resources. And there are countless beast gods among them. But I don't understand. They're going to war just for the Snake Lions and the only resources on Earth. Do they really plan to do this? As he communicated through his mental power domain, Yi Bei also muttered to himself. Host, in addition to resources and revenge, there are actually other reasons. The Beast God civilization was forced back by other civilizations. In other words, they have no choice but to return to Earth. However, as soon as Yi Bei's voice fell, The system's voice rang out without any trace of politeness. After hearing this, Yibei was slightly taken aback. He couldn't help but feel ashamed for the beast god civilization. They would be sent back to Earth by other civilizations. To actually be so arrogant and make such a big scene. Were these guys all shameless? But Yibei had still underestimated the shamelessness of the beast god civilization. The next second, he clearly heard the voice of the beast god civilization. These guys, using technology that was far ahead of Earth's, easily intercepted all the electronic communication frequencies and directly displayed their situation on the monitors all over the world. This time, we have the confidence to win. 100 super battleships, each of which can easily destroy the entire planet. Ants, you only have two choices. You can either die or put down your weapons and surrender immediately to become our food. When we're full, you can consider letting the rest live. In the video, one of the beast gods was extremely arrogant. These words could also be considered a counterattack to Yibei's threats just now. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. You're looking for death. But as soon as he finished speaking, whoosh, Yibei's eyes narrowed, and he let out a low growl. Suddenly, a cold beam of death light shot towards the huge vortex of dark clouds. There were even some dark flames in this beam of death light, which was extremely terrifying. This group of people is too arrogant. Morpheus's technology was extremely advanced, but there was nothing he could do about the information from the beast god civilization. After hearing the declaration of one of the beast gods, his eyes turned cold. At the same time, he knew what it would be like when one civilization crushed another. Yup, he's too arrogant. Neo nodded. To be honest, it can't be considered arrogant. It's like how humans talk reason with ants. There's no need to explain what happened. Trinina, on the other hand, saw it very clearly. And quote, that's indeed the case. To the beast god civilization, the snake civilization is just a bunch of ants. However, they'll definitely pay the price for underestimating us. End quote. Morpheus concluded. Not only him. At this moment, the internet was boiling with excitement because of the arrogant declaration of the beast god civilization. End quote. Bastards. These monsters are too arrogant. End quote. One of the mutant pigs growled in anger, wishing it could just charge out and kill its way through. End quote. Right? What do you take our snake tribe civilization for? A tall, white man with eyes full of wisdom said righteously. After this period of assimilation, this guy had already unconsciously regarded himself as a member of the snake tribe civilization, unlike a year ago, when he was unwilling to join the snake tribe and always regarded himself as a high-level creature. Kill those monsters. They used to be Earth's creatures, but when Earth encountered a disaster, their first choice was to leave. Now that Earth has returned to a period of peace, and with so many resources, they've returned and are even saying that the entire Earth belongs to them. No one else is shameless to this extent. And quote, by the way, if the snake civilization could capture all those super warships, how great would that be? End quote. If we win this battle, I have a feeling that the snake race civilization is about to start the universe era. End quote. On the internet, such voices were constantly heard. Compared to the beast gods led by the Lamia last time. Obviously, the 100 battleships didn't have a shocking effect. All the creatures were just watching. No one was trying to restore the beast god. In the sky above the Pacific Ocean, within the dark vortex with a diameter of over 500 kilometers, countless battleships were faintly visible, ready to land on Earth at any time. The coldness they emitted lowered the temperature of the surrounding air by several times. Above the ocean, Yibei's huge body was coiled up. It was completely golden. Above him, the vortex of dark clouds surged unceasingly, but even so, he did not show the slightest fear or retreat. Whoosh! When a ray of death light burst out from his eyes and rushed toward the vortex, an unbelievable scene appeared in the originally dense positive and negative electric particles. The originally terrifying cloud layer was directly shot through, leaving a hole. Then, rays of golden sunlight fell from the hole and landed on Yibei's body. It was resplendent and sacred, as if a real god had descended. This scene, all the living beings on Earth who were watching the battle were stunned. Some of the creatures couldn't help but show respect from the bottom of their hearts. Some of them even knelt on the ground and hit their foreheads against the ground, making crisp banging sounds. The voice from his mouth did not stop for a moment. Snake God. It's the snake god. The serpent god has finally appeared. It's so strong. Ha ha. Tremble in fear, you trashy beast gods. In this situation, no creature would laugh. Instead, everyone was shouting with all their might. Walala. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky, the spaceships of the Snake Tribe civilization continued to appear. In the huge vortex, it was a completely different situation. In the hull of one of the super battleships, the 6 beast gods turned around and sat face to face. They looked very cold and even angry. This was because, after sending out the message, the final result was completely different from what they had expected. Damn it, what's going on? What about the creatures on Earth? We can clearly detect a large number of signals of different wavelengths. So why hasn't any living being taken the initiative to contact us to surrender? Beast God number 4 growled in a hoarse voice. He couldn't understand why he had encountered such a situation as soon as he arrived on Earth. Before they came here, they had analyzed the civilization on Earth. The Earth was only a level 3 civilization, and the Beast God civilization was twice as strong as them. In their minds, low-leveled civilizations should submit to them at the first moment. It seems that our information was wrong. The last time the Lamia failed, the creatures on Earth no longer fear our Beast God. This is the only explanation that can explain the reason. It's easy to make them surrender. We'll show them our strength first. Beast God number 2 did not hold back. And quote, just now, the monster in the ocean shot a death ray at us. Its power was so terrifying that it even pierced through the layer of electric particles. The level of the creatures on Earth should have surpassed our beast gods. End quote. Beast God number 6 was very serious. He was considered a more rational one. Impossible. End quote. Earth has always been a low-end planet and has been under our technological blockade from the beginning. How can such a barren planet produce high-level creatures? The only possibility is that the monster in the sea is a creature from the universe. Beast God number 4 had a very strong opinion. Even if you beat him to death, he wouldn't believe that there would be a creature on Earth that surpassed the Beast God level. This was blasphemy to the honor and glory of their Beast God civilization. And quote, I have 2 ideas now. First, attack the monster in the ocean. Second, wait for the spatial wavelength to stabilize this time. Then immediately cover Earth with fire and show them our strength, letting them know true fear. End quote. After a long while, Beast God number 1 slowly opened his mouth. The moment he finished speaking, read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. Through the AI assistance of the battleships, the information was transmitted to every battleship and the ears of every beast god. Walala. The next second, countless beast gods took action. The atmosphere of war instantly enveloped the entire Pacific Ocean. Even Yi Bei, who was in the middle of the ocean, could sense a strong aura of death. However, this aura made his blood boil. The more powerful he was, the more threatening he would be. Only then could Yi Bei become stronger in a short period of time, and it would be more challenging. Walala. The surrounding sea water kept surging. Yi Bei's body was coiled up in the sea. His powerful aura spread wildly in all directions. In the sea, the mutated fish that had been ferocious recently all felt their lives threatened and fled frantically. There was almost no living creature within a 500-kilometer radius of Yi Bei. 100 super space battleships. In each battleship, there were at least 1,000 beast gods, and at most, there were tens of thousands of them. In total, there were 1 million beast gods. The beast god army this time was much more serious than the last time. It's just that this group of people are still very rude and arrogant. They're taking them too seriously. Although the spatial turbulence was extremely terrifying, he could still clearly hear the conversation between the 6 beast gods after Yi Bei released his spiritual domain. However, at this moment, Yi Bei couldn't be bothered to waste his breath on them. Whoosh! In the next second, his body turned into a golden shadow and directly rushed in the direction of the spatial turbulence. Since these beast gods were trying to destroy Yi Bei first, and then threaten Earth with force, Yi Bei could do the same. He could display his powerful strength and strike fear into these proud beast gods. Golden Lion, Wang Wun, Caesar. Increase your speed. When we get here, we'll surround this area. As Yi Bei charged forward, this voice immediately rang out in the minds of every beast god's high-level leader. Whoosh, 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 walalala. In the distance, the dense number of spaceships increased their speed again. End quote. All of you, turn your thrusters to the maximum and accelerate. End quote. End quote. It's time to let those beast gods know who the real master of Earth is. They fled back then, and now they're back. It's not such a good thing. End quote. End quote. Quick, zoom in on the video. I want to see how the king will deal with those idiots. End quote. On the hundreds of thousands of spaceships, such voices were extremely turbulent. And in the vortex of dark clouds. Are you sure you're not going to tell me? Very good. I'll let you see how the higher-ups of the snake race civilization die. One of the beast gods said to the flame foal. A 3D projection appeared in front of the flame foal. One of them was the scene of Yi Bei transforming into a golden shadow and charging toward the wormhole. Be afraid, idiot. When the beast deity saw Yi Bei, its eyes were filled with anger and disdain as it growled. The flame foal, which had been captured because of its companion's death, raised its head slightly. When it saw Yi Bei in the 3D projection, its despairing eyes instantly lit up. The king. Yes, the king is here. You bunch of trash. You're all dead. Ha ha ha. He growled. As he spoke, he laughed out loud. However, this behavior only made a beast god beside him angrier. Ant, can't you recognize the situation? Bang, bang, buzz, buzz. A giant whip, crackling with lightning, struck the flame foal's body. With a flash of silver light, the flame foal's skin and flesh were split open. However, this fellow's eyes were bloodshot, and its fur was standing on end. When it stared at Yi Bei in the 3D projection, its eyes were filled with fanaticism and excitement. You will all pay the price. As long as the king comes here, all of you will die. Idiot. The beast god was furious. Just as he was about to continue his attack on the flame foal, he suddenly jerked. Chi. In the next moment, he saw a silver light shoot out of the flame foal's eyes. The light went straight into his head. And NBSB, Wong Wong Wong. You. The beast god did not understand what was going on. His head was buzzing and his mind was blank. Boom. Then, his body fell to the ground with a loud bang, and he died a tragic death. Flame foal, with your current strength, there's no need for you to wait for death. Devour them, kill them, and take revenge to your heart's content. The flame foal's eyes were emitting rays of death, and it looked ferocious. Moreover, Yi Bei's voice rang out in its mind. Yes, my king. After killing a beast god, the flame foal's beastly nature was completely stimulated. Chi. Several rays of death shot out of its eyes. The electromagnetic force field around its body lost its effect under the interference of the death rays. The flame foal immediately regained its freedom. Whoosh. The flame foal didn't hesitate after breaking free from its restraints. Its body turned into a terrifying red flame, and it charged into the beast god civilization's super warship at an incredible speed. After using the finished product of the evolution potion, in addition to receiving Yi Bei's power, without the use of weapons, the beast gods, who were dedicated to the development of technology, were no match for him at all. In the hull of the super warship. End quote. Alert, alert. A large number of spaceships and battleships are approaching us. There are at least 100,000 of them. End quote. In the center of the hull, a 3D projection of the beast god was speaking. Every battleship of the beast god civilization had an intelligent life form in charge of management. These life forms were the most important assistants in space travel and wormholes. They had powerful computing and danger warning abilities. At the same time, they also had full control over all the weapons of the battleship. An army from the Snake Tribe civilization? Since they're all here, it'll be easy. How many of them are there? Beast God number 1 was very calm. This time, it was 100 super battleships. A civilization that was 3 stages ahead of Earth. He really couldn't think of any reason why he would fail. End quote. I can't determine the exact number for now, but the total number of enemies coming this time is at least 10 million. End quote. The intelligent beast god said slowly. More than 10 million? In the hall, the 6 beast gods were silent. However, their eyes lit up. And quote, all these years, we've been fighting the centaurs and the Trinity civilization, and we've lost too many resources and power. There are so many creatures on Earth, and I have a new plan. After returning to Earth, I'll stay here for a while and treat them as food to develop the beast god base. End quote. Beast god number 1 continued, his eyes cold. When he talked about treating the creatures on Earth as food, there was no emotion in his eyes, as if those creatures were really ants. However, just as beast god number 1's voice fell. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. The intelligent beast god's alarm in the hall went off again. Warning, warning. The fleet has encountered an invasion of unknown creatures. Do you wish to activate the highest level of defense? What? The highest level of defense? After hearing the voice, beast god number 1, who had been extremely calm a moment ago, suddenly widened his eyes, and a trace of fear appeared in his eyes. The highest level of defense? It wasn't just beast god number 1. In the hall, the 6 beast gods were all stunned. Although this wasn't the first time the highest level of defense had appeared, every time it did, it meant that an enemy that could threaten the entire beast god civilization had appeared. This was a big deal. Are you sure the alarm was correct? This was Earth. It's a low-end planet. Beast god number 4 growled as soon as he realized what was going on. Before he came, he had never thought that such a thing would happen on Earth. I'm very sure. The target has been locked on. It's that unknown creature. As the intelligent beast god spoke, a 3D high-definition projection appeared in the hall. When the 6 beast gods saw the situation, their eyes almost popped out. And quote this, how is this possible? Beast god number 1's body trembled slightly. Is it crazy? It's a wormhole full of space fragments and countless space turbulences. Once he's sucked in and brought to a deserted planet, he'll be dead. Beast god number 4 kept shaking his head. This lunatic. Beast god number 6's voice was hoarse. Unless he can pass through the wormhole with his body. Furthermore, it is not affected by any fragments. Beast god number 2 guessed. After he finished speaking, the hall immediately fell silent. 1 second. 2 seconds. In the projection, Yi Bei's body didn't show any signs of being swept away. Quick, immediately attack him. Immediately. Beast god number 1 finally came back to his senses and shouted. At this moment, not only the 6 beast gods. Within the 100 super cosmic battleships that came to Earth this time, countless noises were heard. Our fleet has been invaded. Who is it? Could it be that there's a stronger civilization on Earth? Damn it, it's a giant python. No, it's not a python. He's too big. Gold. I can sense a very terrifying aura. What do we do? End quote. Fire immediately. Lock all the weapons on that monster. We must kill him. End quote. Walala. Crack. While the beast gods were shouting, the intelligent assistant on the battleship was very calm. After receiving the order, it immediately aimed the cannon in Yi Bei's direction. A large amount of the spiritual pearl's power was being consumed at a crazy rate. A terrifying aura was brewing in these forts. Walala. On the Pacific Ocean, Yi Bei narrowed his eyes, and his body transformed into a golden shadow. Without any hesitation, he charged into the huge vortex of the cloud of positron and electron clouds. The storm vortex, which seemed to be able to tear everything apart, didn't cause Yi Bei any harm after he charged in. What an incredible place. Wormholes make countless space fragments spin, constantly exchange, jump, and then cross the universe. After entering the chaotic space, Yi Bei didn't feel nervous at all. In fact, his originally narrowed eyes were now wide open as he carefully observed his surroundings. At the same time, his mental power domain was constantly at its peak. In his mind, in his vision, unimaginable scenes appeared from time to time. The first space fragment was a desolate interstellar battlefield with broken metal wreckage everywhere. There were even wisps of white smoke coming out of it, and the pungent smell of gasoline floated out. There were no living creatures in sight. The second spatial fragment, a barren planet full of barren gravel. There were no plants or living creatures. The largest of the rocks on the ground was only the size of a human fist, and their surfaces were full of cracks, as if they would instantly turn to dust upon contact. There was no air, and at the same time, all kinds of violent storms were sweeping through the planet. When Yibei saw this planet, he was absolutely certain that if he were thrown on it and didn't hide in the forest of death, he wouldn't survive more than a day. The third spatial fragment was the starry sky, where a crazy battle was taking place. It was pitch black here, and only a dazzling flash of light could be seen from time to time. Other than that, there was no sound or smell. However, this silent killing made Yibei feel a chill run down his spine. The fourth spatial fragment was a giant star that was 100 times larger than Earth. It was completely covered in unknown plants. The plants were dancing around wantonly, like an endless black hole, greedily absorbing all the energy on the planet. As Yibei observed the planet, he could even clearly sense that the planet was shrinking bit by bit, as if it was shriveling. The fifth one, the 10th one, the 100th. In the sky above the Pacific Ocean, the cloud of positive and negative ions had already reached a diameter of 600 kilometers. In the wormhole at the core of the vortex, there were countless space fragments. At that moment, Yibei was shuttling through the spatial fragments at high speed. When he saw the scenes inside the spatial fragments, he could completely sense the threat they posed. The more he saw, the more shocked he became. The Earth was simply too small. The vast universe was the real battlefield. Compared to protecting some weak creatures, blowing up a few planets was not a big deal in a civilization war. Shwa shwa shwa. As he thought of this, the attractive force generated by the huge vortexes made Yibei speed up again. Clang clang clang. Shwa shwa shwa. When the spatial fragments hit Yibei's body, which had a resistance level of over 2,000, it was as if they were hitting metal, and they kept making loud sounds. But just as Yibei was about to use his body to break through the cloud of vortex-like electric particles, the battleships of the beast god civilization finally finished charging up their power. A sense of danger suddenly rose in Yibei's mind. Hundreds of thousands of electromagnetic pulse cannons locked onto Yibei. Boom. Moreover, under the control of the intelligent beast god assistant, the cannons fired at the same time. Boom. This sound caused the rotating Earth to tremble and deviate from its original orbit. The massive electromagnetic pulse formed a giant beam of light with a diameter of more than 10 kilometers. It charged towards Yibei at the speed of light. This attack could even pierce through the Earth. However, just as the electromagnetic pulse cannon shot toward Yibei, in the depths of the universe, on a planet in the Centaur constellation. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. Chi chi chi. Countless strange creatures were madly scratching in the air with their tentacles, making sizzling sounds. As their tentacles moved, the projections in the air also changed at an extremely fast speed. The wormhole is suffering great damage. The beast god civilization had already started to come into contact with the new civilization on Earth. But judging from the current situation, the beast god civilization was definitely going to win. And Earth might completely become a speck of dust in the universe because of this battle. An emotionless voice slowly rang out. Yeah, it's really a pity. And quote, well, there are some. For a planet with pure water like Earth to have level 6 creatures, it's really unbelievable. But unfortunately, they will never have the chance to rise again. End quote. Then, should we continue to observe? Of course, we provided the wormholes to the beast god civilization on purpose. This kind of trash civilization still has some value. If I'm not wrong, after they occupy Earth this time, they'll definitely absorb the resources there like crazy and breed new beast gods in large numbers. Then, they'll find an opportunity to take revenge on us. You mean? You're giving them a chance to develop on purpose, and then you'll wipe them out. You can probably understand it this way. It would be too boring if we just annihilate them all. End quote. That makes sense. It's just a pity. If the level 6 creature won, it would definitely be more fun. Their taste would be more delicious and more suitable to be used as a bioenergy. End quote. Let's continue to watch. On the planet of the Centaurs, two such voices were conversing. At this moment, on Earth, under the shelter of the entire planet, all the creatures widened their eyes. When they saw the bright light beam in the projection, they all prayed in their hearts. At the same time, fear spread wildly. You must win. Morpheus clenched his fist. And quote, it's definitely not a good thing to be ruled by the beast god civilization. If we win this time, I'm willing to hand over everything I have. I'm even willing to develop a group of battle robots under the snake god's control that can reproduce infinitely. End quote. Human, I'm counting on you. The Chinese leader stood in the shelter with his legs together and his hands hanging down. He looked at the screen and said these words in a serious tone. Furthermore, when these words came out of his mouth, the human higher-ups around him actually didn't feel anything unusual. We were really wrong back then. Human civilization is too weak. If the snake god didn't appear and Earth was still under human control, perhaps everyone would have become the beast god's slaves and food. The Russia emperor's hair was white. Not only the two of them. Even the American president, France president, and United Kingdom prime minister, who had survived the space of exile, began to pray in their hearts, hoping that Yi Bei would be the final winner. China, in her rural suburbs. Too many things have changed over the years. I would never have dreamed that the Earth would change so quickly 3 years ago. Everything I was familiar with and knew has changed dramatically. Now, I'm actually starting to hope that the Naga god will win and continue to control the Earth. In a small house, a middle-aged man with white hair said slowly, I actually also feel that he is very familiar. If it was before, we might be qualified to meet. But now, they were in a completely different world. Just watch quietly. Beside the middle-aged man, there was a woman with a serious expression and a slow voice. I have a feeling that it won't be long before we really have to talk to him face to face. Let's think about whether we can survive this time. The two of them said one sentence each. They were Yi Bei's parents, Yi Kun and Wu Yan. As for Yi Shan, ever since his last communication with Yi Bei, he had been on the verge of a mental breakdown. He would only return to normal after a very short period of time. But even when he returned to normal, other than muttering impossible every day, he couldn't say anything else. Speed up, faster. Caesar roared, and the scar on his face popped up. The bright red scar looked very scary. Bastard. We're too slow. The blood moon flapped its wings wildly, bringing millions of mutated birds forward at a speed that exceeded the speed of sound. If anything happens to the king, we're all dead. The golden lion roared. And quote, we'll jump into the ocean right now. With our speed in the ocean, it'll be faster than using the spaceship. End quote. Wang Wen flicked his tongue. And NBSB, Hong Long Long. As soon as he finished speaking, he led the aircraft carrier and jumped into the sea. Behind him, countless mutant pythons were following closely. In the next moment, huge waves rose up on the sea. With Wang Wen's strength, the mutant fish in the ocean did not dare to get close, as they dispersed in a frenzy. Countless creatures were watching the battle. In the supercosmic warship, this monster is dead for sure this time. Beast God number 4's voice was filled with pride. He's definitely dead. Beast God number 5 continued. With so many electromagnetic pulse cannons attacking at once, even if he dodges, the entire Earth will suffer the most serious blow. This attack can be considered to have solved 2 problems at once. Everyone, the next question is how to distribute the resources on Earth and how to quickly increase the number of races in our Beast God civilization. Beast God number 2 looked as if he had already won. Let's continue to wait. Only Beast God number 1 did not relax even at this time. He squinted his eyes, his body still trembling slightly, and his eyes were fixed on the screen and the intelligent Beast God. The electromagnetic beam was terrifying. It could destroy any living creature in an instant. But for some reason, a sense of uneasiness was rising madly in the depths of his heart. Perhaps this time, it might not be their side that won. Perhaps he had underestimated that monster from the start. Beast God number 1's eyes slowly widened. In the vortex of clouds, after seeing the destructive electromagnetic pulse beam, the system's voice rang out in Yi Bei's mind. And quote, Host, the power of the electromagnetic pulse this time is too strong, so it can't be devoured. Other than that, if this energy hits Earth, the entire Earth will be seriously affected. In at most 3 months, The Earth will be destroyed due to deviation. The system's reminder was absolutely serious and terrifying. But even after hearing this, Yibei remained extremely calm. And quote, "Since I can't use my body to resist this attack, and I can't let this attack land on Earth, then I'll just use the space of exile to absorb all these attacks." End quote. The moment this thought appeared, read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. Chi. A pitch-black vortex suddenly appeared in front of Yibei. And MBSB, whoosh whoosh whoosh. A suction force comparable to that of a wormhole appeared from the vortex, making whooshing sounds. And this vortex was expanding at an incredible speed. Is he finished? End quote. 100% hit. There will be no accidents. End quote. Even if I use the same amount of power to counterattack, it's useless. If I really counterattack, the shock wave will be enough to destroy everything. End quote. The only possibility is to hide in some space. But if that's the case, Earth will definitely be finished. End quote. In the warship of the beast god civilization, countless beast gods were making guesses. But without exception, none of the beast gods were optimistic about Yibei's chances. They really couldn't think of any way that Yibei could survive under the might of such an attack. Chi. But all of the living creatures were focused on the beam of light. At that moment, none of them had their attention on Yibei. When the electromagnetic pulse beam was less than 10 meters away from Yibei, the vortex of the space of exile finally had an effect, and a crazed sizzling sound rang out. In an instant, a huge black hole appeared before Yibei's eyes. The suction force generated by this black hole was endless. Now that he had complete control over the space of exiles, he could use it at any time he wanted. And MBSB, whoosh whoosh whoosh. The huge electromagnetic pulse was constantly absorbed by the exiles. At this moment, if one were to enter the space of exile, they would definitely be shocked by the chaos here. The entire space was filled with all kinds of violent electromagnetic forces, and the air here was even exploding with a crackling sound. Even if Golden Lion and the others were thrown into this place, they would be instantly turned into pieces by this electromagnetic force. Whoosh, whoosh, walalala. The power of the beast god civilization's electromagnetic pulse cannon was too great. Even the space of exile had almost exploded. Countless terrifying energies seeped out from the edge and struck Yibei's body. Fortunately, Yibei's body was strong enough, and he was able to withstand such attacks. 1 second, 10 seconds. Tom was passing by quietly. In the hall of the beast god civilization's super cosmic warship. How is it? Did you kill the monster? Why hasn't anything happened on Earth? Beast god number 1's body trembled slightly. He opened his eyes wide and growled. Your Excellency. The energy from the super electromagnetic pulse cannon was completely devoured by the surrounding space. It didn't hit the monster, nor did it hit Earth. The intelligent beast god answered honestly. Uffed. Beast god number 1 almost spat out a mouthful of blood upon hearing this. The other beast gods in the hall couldn't accept this result. Are you kidding me? If all the battleships launched an attack at the same time, the energy consumed would be uncountable. Such an attack would not even be afraid of the three-bodied civilization, yet it could not kill him? How did you calculate the position? An attack of that level could completely annihilate all the space fragments in the wormhole. Beast god number 4 couldn't hold it in any longer and roared at the intelligent beast god. Failed. It's impossible. Damn it. Replay the scene just now. As beast god number 4's roar faded, the other beast gods in the hall finally felt that something was wrong and said one after another. Even though the intelligent beast god was extremely intelligent and even had emotions. But this judgment couldn't be considered her responsibility at all. After all, the information she had on Yibei was too limited. Yes, Your Excellencies. She remained silent in the face of the beast god's horses. However, when she played the replay at the end, her reaction speed was still very fast. The explosion just now was terrifying. But this time, the beast god civilization sent out almost all of their forces. The battleships were equipped with all kinds of advanced technology. The moment the destructive electromagnetic pulse beam shot out, there were countless cameras recording everything. In the hall, a large projection appeared. Time reversed. The scene was the moment when the light beam was shot out, but the projection here was slowed down a million times. Countless electromagnetic pulse beams were shot out from the cannons of the 100 super warships. The dense light spots gathered together and formed a super light speed with a diameter of more than 10,000 meters. And then, the beam of light was slowly charging towards eBay. In the clouds of the wormhole vortex, the terrifying spatial fragments were instantly annihilated after being hit by the terrifying light beam. Nothing was left. From this, one could judge how terrifying its power was. And quote, "This is really powerful. If it hits our fleet, it can instantly destroy at least 50% of our fleet." End quote. And NBSB, whoosh. In the hall, the six beast gods had serious expressions. Even though the beast god civilization was a level 6 civilization, they felt an unprecedented fear when they faced this light beam. Yup. End quote. The combined attack of all the warships must be terrifying. End quote. End quote. It feels like it can really penetrate the earth. End quote. Yes, very strong. The six beast gods said one after another. However, their words came to an abrupt halt as they thought of a terrifying matter at the same time. Hence, he immediately widened his eyes and continued to watch. 1 second. 10 seconds. Time passed quickly. It's going to hit the monster. What kind of technique is it? They're here. His eyes widened. When they saw that the beam of light was less than 100 meters away from eBay, the beast gods' widened eyes suddenly began to narrow. The thing they had been so concerned about had finally appeared. He saw a black that was growing at an unbelievable speed. Even through the screen, he could feel the terrifying suction force coming from inside. What is this? A black hole? That's impossible. A black hole that appeared out of thin air without any technology. What the hell is that? It's about to hit. In the projection, the voices of the six beast gods continued. Then, when the light beam hit the black hole, an even more incredible scene appeared. The enormous power was all being devoured crazily. The black hole was endless, and it actually did not reject any energy at that level, devouring it wantonly. Is this the thing? How did this happen? Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. In the hall of the super cosmic battleship, the six beast god higher-ups' faces twitched crazily. When they spoke, the corners of their mouths trembled. Through the playback, they were completely shocked by the scene they saw. But, just as they were surprised that the black hole had swallowed the electromagnetic pulse beam, Yi Bei, who had used positive and negative electrons as well as magnetic force to fly up, had already transformed into a beam of golden light. His sturdy body had pierced through one of the beast god civilization's super battleships in the middle of the wormhole vortex, and his entire body was buried in it. The massacre had officially begun.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.